This is my story about upper cervical instability and instability throughout my body. No two causes are the same, but maybe mine will resonate with you. My story is long, so I will keep it condensed, and I will go over all my 16 major symptoms and my experiences with them. These experiences that I am bringing to you today are things that I have gone through over decades. That is how long some of us experience this condition. The first symptom that I want to talk about was the pain that I had. Every day was a new flavor of pain. My neck throughout the day would ache so bad. I had some degree of limited rotation and pinching. And it was to the point that even in the morning, I would have a hard time lifting my head off the pillow because my neck would be re-hurt from sleep and it would be re-sprained. Even my shoulders were in quite a lot of pain, and my right one would actually sublux when I was swimming. Historically, I really wanted to surf, so I would try, but as I would try to paddle, it would sublux on me, and it was not a pleasant experience. My upper back at my ribs, that was very, very sharp and pinchy. Those plagued me for many years until I got those treated. My low back was very painful to the point that I had to wear a back belt to try to stabilize it when I was just doing daily activities and working and treating. And my knees, I remember always feeling imbalanced with bodybuilding because when I would try to squat or I would try to do things, my knees would always just be uncomfortable. So that was my experience with pain. So, how did I manage the pain? Well, the first thing I did was I would use a foam roller for about an hour every night, for about an hour to an hour and a half. That would help me just get through the next day. I had a very special pillow that I had, and I would even travel with it. I would not leave home without it. So I was always that guy with a pillow with me. And if you saw my bed, you would see that I build a fort of pillows. We call it a fort. It's just because I surrounded myself with supports so that I would not hurt the next day. Again, I would wear a belt. I even took it to Italy because trying to think about carrying luggage or doing those things, I had to rely on a belt at that time. And lastly, sometimes at the end of a day when I was making dinner for the kids, I would have to wear a neck brace because my neck was just tired. And I just wanted to support it on something without making my neck worse. So that was just my first symptom of pain. The second symptom that I had was joint cracking. Now, I would be able to easily crack my neck, my fingers, various areas in the body that I could intentionally do it, but other joints that would just crack on their own was my jaw, my knees, my low back, the ankles, wrists, and fingers. They just had a tendency to crack for me. The third symptom that I dealt with was excessive fatigue. I remember at the end of a work day, and my work days were not long. They were probably about 5 hours, but I was engaged with patients. And at the end of a work shift, I would lay on my treatment table and basically have a rest or a nap. I had to do that because I was just so tired. I remember on Friday afternoons, I'd be so exhausted from my work week that I would go home and the kids would be so excited to see me. And I would lay on the bed and they would bounce on my back, but I was so tired. I was definitely not present and I was half asleep sometimes. It's a hard one to admit, but that was the reality of the situation. My fourth symptom that I dealt with was excessive irritability. This is a big one for me because even during when I was correcting it, when my C1 deviates, I am irritable. Now, keep in mind, I'm saying I wasn't just tired, I was excessively tired. And for this symptom, I was excessively irritable. I would be super irritable just at the drop of a hat, which is not like me. The fifth symptom that I experienced was anxiety. Even walking to work one day, I remember thinking, why am I anxious? It doesn't make sense to be anxious. There's nothing that I'm worried about. I love my job. I love the people I'm around, but I was anxious and I was sometimes in a low grade of anxiousness. The sixth symptom that I dealt with was digestive issues. I remember having pain in my stomach for no reason. Of course, alongside that, just because I had upper cervical issues, I had leaky gut. And of course, I had that tested on a regular basis, which always had a tendency to demonstrate my food sensitivities. They would almost fluctuate every 2 to 3 months. And how would I know? Besides getting tested, my major symptom was actually dry eyes. I would know that I ate a food my body did not agree with because my eyes would get very dry. And of course, that made me feel more tired. The seventh symptom that I dealt with was dehydration. I was chronically dehydrated. My mouth would be dry, my body would be stiff. I could just sense that even my lips, everything was just dry. And I couldn't get hydrated no matter what I tried. The eighth symptom that I had was poor stress coping. I was overwhelmed with the littlest things. I avoided conflict and I would have an intense physiological response to stressors. And that is abnormal. That is not like me. But that is because I was dealing with a condition that amplified so many things. The ninth symptom that I had was major allergies. And I'm not saying that upper cervical instability causes allergies, but my allergies were really bad and it seemed to provoke or make them worse. It was super intense to the point that I would almost give myself whiplash from repetitive sneezing from the to the littlest things like the environment to animals, especially cats. And strangely, to me now, I have no more allergies. The 10th symptom is was cognition. It would take me a long time to process information. Just my brain would just not seem to function as it once did. And it was on a decline in a way where it just was not functioning the way that I thought it should. And that was very frustrating. The 11th symptom that I had was a very poor memory. It was terrible. I can't. I remember people would quote a movie and be like, "Hey, you saw that movie?" I was like, "Yes, I saw that movie, but I don't remember what happened." Or even if it did something like 5 minutes ago, I would think like, "Did I do that 5 minutes ago?" I remember I had a lock for my locker at the gym, and I would take it off. I would put it in my bag, and I remember thinking, did I put it in my bag? I literally just put it in my bag and I couldn't even remember that. Thankfully, that is not the case anymore. The 12th symptom that I dealt with was fogginess. And it just felt like it was terrible. I just felt like I was in a fog all the time. And if you know what fogginess feels like, you know it's like it would resonate with you and you just feel like life is a blur. It is just not a true experience of what you should be going through. The 13th symptom that I had was sleep trouble. My sleep was terrible. I was tired in the day, I was tired all the time, but strangely, I was awake at night. I was so tired just laying in bed thinking, oh man, I just wish I could fall asleep right now. I'm so tired, but I can't fall asleep. Oh, that sleep trouble. The 14th symptom that I dealt with was lightheadedness. And I experienced lightheadedness often. I remember being at a in a workout and I would be doing a lift and all of a sudden after I almost felt like I was going to pass out. I had to lay down on the gym floor just to let that settle. I remember lifting because I lift some heavy weights. I remember lifting weights overhead and every time I did a shoulder press, I would have to give it about 30 seconds to regain uh, my state because I would get lightheaded. And don't get me wrong, I was breathing well, but I would still get lightheaded. The 15th symptom that I would deal with was dysautonomia. It's a very common symptom, and I know that a lot of people have experienced that, but this was my experience. I remember one night I was sweating profusely. I ran to the bathroom. I felt nauseous. My heart was racing. I sat there on the floor of my bathroom and I thought, this is it, because I was so unwell and I was having such a reaction. And it wasn't to anything, it was in the middle of the night, but dysautonomia, that can be a tough one. And the last symptom that I dealt with, which is number 16, was light and sound sensitivity. I remember the light and the sun being so bright. I couldn't look at a light. And I remember going outside and I could not wear sunglasses. It was just so intense. I would have to squint or even just close my eyes. And noise was so loud for me. Well, imagine having young kids. Kids like TL, they're having fun. But for me, it would just be so intense and so piercing. I couldn't even stand in a room of people and have a conversation because the noise would be so penetrating, I couldn't even concentrate. Now, let me tell you, this is definitely no way to live. So I have some final words I want to say here. This condition is treatable. I fixed my instability. Now, I am never perfect, but I am definitely my absolute best. By treating instability, I could do a lot of things. I could golf, I could compete, I could lift heavy weights and be the strongest truly that I have ever been. I got a motorcycle, I can ride with that helmet on, and I could truly live again without the fear of always having a consequence. And if I can get better, there's hope. My instability correction has been awesome and it absolutely changed my life. I would never do it any different. Yes, sometimes there are times where I think, sometimes being in the profession that I am in and my work is very hard on my body and maybe there's something else, but I never would have figured out what I know now and I never would have been able to help myself. So my correction has been awesome, as I said, and it did change my life, but that is because I addressed all three, let me say that, all three major root causes of ligament laxity. That is how I did it. I figured out the major, for me and for many of my patients, the root cause of the ligament laxity and therefore joint instability. If you're curious how I did it, stay tuned to the next few videos that I'm going to be shooting and uploading. Subscribe now, and I will see you then. And just know there's hope.